Sure, I'm Matt Troutman, and I'm the Director of Residence Life and Student Conduct.
And then I guess Becky, she's at the top of my screen now.
Hi everyone, my name is Becky VanWychen and I'm an area coordinator for Memorial and then the new residence hall.
And then Kandyce.
Hi, I am Kandyce Baker. I am an area coordinator for Smith Hall and Schreiner Hall.
And then LaShawn.
And I'm LaShawn Taylor. I'm the area coordinator for Meyran Hall and Coblentz Hall.
Let's see, here we go. Okay, so at Hood College, we have a 3-year residency requirement. The students live on for their first 3 years, and their last year, they're able to live off campus. And there are a few exceptions to this, which you can see at the website address here, hood.edu/residency. Our first year and second year students have roommates. This provides a traditional college experience. Most students continue to have roommates their junior and senior years. There is a limited number of single rooms available for upper class students or for those that have approved accommodations. We have 26 resident assistants. They are student leaders providing support to their peers. So each night they're present in the residence halls to ensure people are safe and following policies. We have 3 area coordinators, which you've just met. These area coordinators supervise the RAs, the resident assistants, and manage the students in the buildings. One of us is always on call in the event of an emergency or if a residential student needs support on the weekends or after hours. The area coordinators and RAs provide educational opportunities complementing the learning in the classroom. These are designed to increase social skills and emotional intelligence. And at Hood, we have 6 residence halls. One is a suite style, which is opening this fall. And that means that the residents are sharing a small bathroom with their suite mates. And then the other 5 traditional halls the residents share large bathrooms with everyone on the floor. And our new first year housing assignments are typically done by gender separated by floor. And this is because there is 1 bathroom on each floor. Oops.
All right, so these are a list of the residence halls that we had, as Matt talked about. So our first year students, they are in Memorial Hall and Smith Hall. And our transfer students, and also our the basement and first floor of Meyran Hall. And our transfer students are mostly in Coblentz Hall. And our upperclassmen are in Schreiner, Coblentz, Meyran, as well as the new residence hall that is opening this fall. All right, so there was a lot of notes here, sorry. Go back to that slide here. So there is a number of different furniture in the residence hall. That each room has college provided furniture, and each resident is provided a desk chair, bed, and mattress, and 2 dressers. And most rooms come with a built-in closet, and if that's not the case, then a wardrobe is provided instead. And one thing that's important to note that is when buying sheets, to make sure that the sheets are twin XL. That is the usual size for college housing beds. So most stores like Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, Amazon, all of those will carry twin XL sheets. Each hall has wired and wireless internet, and the buildings are equipped with those. There is a computer lab. Each of the residence halls has a computer lab that has printers and several computers. And there are many other computer labs on campus as well. Each of the residence halls also have vending machines available as well for students if they want something to snack on. And there are also laundry rooms. And this is included in your housing charge, the use of washers and dryers. So you don't need to carry quarters, you don't need to load money onto a student ID card. You can just go right into the laundry room when something's available and put your laundry in. Each of the residence halls also have a small kitchen in each building for those who are wanting to do some baking. And there is also a study lounge. And even though the residence hall is not an academic environment, there are less noisy spaces available for students if they want to study in a study lounge. And we also, each residence hall also has a building TV lounge. And what we're seeing now in 2020 is most students stream things on their personal devices. But if a student is looking to watch cable television, there is also a lounge for them to watch TV. The residence halls are also closed over breaks and during the summer. And the breaks that they are closed are Thanksgiving break, winter break, spring break, as well as summertime. And even though the halls are closed during those times, if students are finding a need to stay on campus during any of those breaks, they can stay if they request it, and they pay a daily fee.
So going over parking, dining, and safety, our first point is campus parking for all. So many other schools do not permit new students to bring their vehicles on campus, but here at Hood College, we actually allow all of our students, including our first-year students, to park on campus with no fee associated with that at all. So they don't have to like buy a parking pass or something. As for meal plans, all residential students living in our buildings are required to have a meal plan just because there is limited access to kitchens. And with first-year students, they are required to have an all-access meal plan. Keys and card access. Each resident is issued an ID card that has access to their building only, so it's more safe because they can only get into their building. They're also issued a room key to access their room, and it's only them and their roommate that have those room keys. And then campus safety officers patrol campus to ensure it's always secure. And then we also have the blue lights on campus, which is like an emergency system that you can press and it calls 911 and is very, very safe and secure. Here are some dates for our new student room assignments. The first date, April 30th, where new students are emailed about housing information. We'll email you all the information you'll need to know regarding housing, and this will include access to the electronic housing form along with the dates for everything. On April 15th, July 15th, these housing forms are due. So that housing and food service contract is online. The one that's online, you will submit that by this date. Within that form, there's a lot of questions that you'll be able to answer to ensure that we're going to be able to assign you to the best assignment. And then students needing a housing accommodation for a medical or disability need or a gender need or a religious need may also submit a housing accommodation form by July 15th. On July 30th, housing assignments will be emailed to new students. At this time, you'll have a few weeks before you move on campus. So you'll want to contact your roommate to start to get to know them and coordinate if anyone is bringing a special item. For example, only one mini fridge is allowed, so you'll have to communicate to know if anyone is planning on bringing one. So just talking with your new roommate to be like, who's gonna bring the mini fridge, who's gonna bring the microwave. You'll also get a list of items we recommend to bring with you and a list of items to not bring with you, such as candles, because it's a fire hazard. And then on August 20th, new students move into their new room. Students move in on Thursday, August 20th. Each student will be emailed about this time that they'll be able to pick up their keys so that students arrive at different times and it's more of an orderly process. We'll also have employees and students that day available to help carry your stuff into your room.
Another very important deadline is July 31st. All residents must submit by July 31st their medical forms. These can be accessed at hood.edu/medical forms. In the state of Maryland, all residential students must have 2 vaccines. Maryland law requires all residential students to have the meningitis vaccine or sign a waiver declining the vaccination. This is very important because to be able to move in, you must have submitted this form to health services. Another very important deadline, I'm sorry, same slide, I gotta click to the next one. So we will read the answers to the questions on your housing form in order to match you with someone potentially compatible with you. These questions are preferences such as room temperature, as well as trying to learn about your personality. Or you can request each other. If you and another new student want to live with each other, you can type each other's names on your housing form. Some of the athletic coaches will match students together and let us know. Admission counselors are using Schools app with new students. Some students use schools apps to find a roommate, but again, we can always match you based on your housing form. Once you submit your housing contract form, you can return to it to edit it. So if you submit it and you do not have a preferred roommate, but then later find someone you want to live with, you can edit your form as long as it is before July 15th, the due date. After you move in, we will work with you and your roommate to establish boundaries for a successful semester. We will have you do a roommate contract where you both determine how you want things to go in your room. If you later have issues, you can then talk with each other based on what you established in your housing contract. If it is a larger conflict, you can always go to your resident assistant to help you both navigate the situation. Now is the time we can answer general questions. If you have specific questions which you want to follow up with us later, please email us at residencelife@hood.edu. What housing related questions are we able to answer for you now?
So thank you guys. Some of the questions that we get a lot in admissions from students are about kind of accommodations and what accommodations are able to be made. So if any of you are able to speak to, if a student has a specific request for an accommodation, what circumstances are honored, I guess.
Can you elaborate your question?
So just if a student wants an accommodation, what are some of the general things that they're granted for, some of the reasons that students will get them?
Well, it wouldn't be what they want, it would be what they need. So if it was a reasonable accommodation under ADA or another one of the ones that Becky mentioned, gender and religious are some other ones that we have. So it just depends on what they need and what documentation they're able to provide. So if they have, let's say that they need to have a elevator access because of being in a wheelchair, for example, they should be able to then take that to their doctor and have the form filled out, and it would explicitly say what they would need. And in this case, it would be elevator access. Not all of our buildings have workable elevators.
Okay, great. And then I guess more along the lines of social activities and things that take place in the residence halls, what kinds of programming is offered for students to get to know one another within the residence halls?
Okay, so we provide a number of programming for the students in the residence halls. We have a residential curriculum that we use in the first year buildings that gives students a chance to get out of the rooms and engage with each other. We also have building presidents and vice presidents who work with the resident assistants in their buildings to also put programs on in the buildings. And the students also get an opportunity to interact with their building presidents and vice presidents to express some of the programs they want to see in the residence halls and really get involved that way as well.
Great. And then also, you mentioned the kind of academic curriculum or the residential curriculum that's offered. Can you talk a little bit more about the different things that entails for students and some of the things that you've done in the past with the residential curriculum?
Sure. So the residential curriculum is really just a more structured way that we do programming in the residence halls. And the residents get experience with doing a number of different activities through the residential program. So they have been able to learn different ways to resolve conflict with them amongst themselves. They've also been able to do activities such as vision boards, which help with goal setting for the semester. They've also they're able to do identity boards, which also give them a way to express themselves in a way that they wouldn't usually be able to, and they were able to share parts of themselves with their floor mates and building mates through that activity as well. Trying to think, we've done a lot. I know there was a program where we were able to get them out of the building and onto the quad and interacting, Smith and Memorial interacting with each other, and making friends that way. So we were able to provide them with a variety of different activities through the residential curriculum.
Great, awesome.
Do you mind if I also add that we also do purposeful conversations where RAs meet with the students individually. So there are times certain students really respond to doing activities and being in a group setting, whereas some people might do better in that one-on-one environment. So we also just do different one-on-one as well as activities in order to meet the different needs of our students.
Great. And then another question that I had regarding the roommate preference form. Are students able to put a preferred residence hall on that if they have one?
They are not.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't really allow for that. So again, if there was a specific need medically, like for example, the one that comes to mind is it's someone that has an allergy that, and it's interesting because certain people want central air conditioning if they have allergies, and sometimes you have a student that want the exact opposite. They want to be able to control you know, the temperature in their rooms through with the window unit. And so they would just need to go through the housing accommodation process to make sure that that need is met. But otherwise, they're just placed into one of the buildings, and you know, this will likely be the last year that we have residents living together in buildings, first year buildings. We'll probably go back to what we did a few years ago. Actually, I think when you were sitting here, Ryan, right, where we had upper class students living with first year students, but separated by floor. So I think that that gets even more complicated to be able to honor building preferences when they're across 5 different buildings. So we just try to focus more on matching the right roommates together and then building a diverse community. So we try to avoid having all of one particular sport living together and that kind of thing. We try to spread everybody out so that everybody's mixed all over campus.
Great. And students that do play a sport aren't required to live with students on the same team. Is that correct? If they don't want to?
That is correct. There are some coaches that strongly encourage it, but there have been times when the student will say, well, I know someone from my high school or whatever the case is that I would prefer to live with. And even in those cases, the coach understands. But then there are some other coaches that specifically do not want their student athletes living together just because they're teammates and they're going to see each other a lot and they want them to have a different set of friends.
Right. Cool. Can you talk a little bit about the, I guess, upperclassmen, like room selection process and how that works after students enter their freshman year?
Does anybody want to give this one a try?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. So the process for room selection for the upper class students, usually we don't start communicating that until like around late March, early April. And it is done, students are assigned a room lottery number, and they are able to, once they get their number, they're assigned a time, like when we're able to do it in person, they're assigned a time to come in and they're able to see which rooms are available. And if they have a roommate with them, or if they already know who their roommate's going to be, they can then go and pick in whichever building they want to live in, their exact room that they want to stay in, and they'll be assigned to that space. So I think that's kind of like the gist of how it works. If there's anything that I'm missing, Matt, you can.
Well, I would say it's based on seniority. So that's the main thing to know is that, rising seniors are able to select rooms before rising juniors and so on. So that's something that people want to make sure that seniority is emphasized in the room selection process. Again, going back to the single rooms, there's only a limited number of single rooms. And so, to be able to offer those first to the seniors rather than to sophomores, for example, is really what we try to do. So whenever we make the assignments and whenever we make the random lottery numbers, everything is based on seniorities, based on credit hours, which include credit hours that are transferred in to the institution.
Great. And then I know another question that we get a lot in our office, and I think this might be the last one that I have, is about the process for becoming an RA. What does that look like? When can they do that? What kinds of steps do they have to take?
I'm glad you did that question a lot. That's good.
Yeah, I think it's the perks that make students want to do it.
Yeah, good. Kandyce, do you want to try to answer that one?
Sure. So we will have information sessions. This past time they were in, I believe, was it January, February, we had info sessions. And at that info session, they will learn a lot more about the process in detail because, every year there might be a couple of tweaks here and there. That they can expect that there will be what we call a group process, which is kind of an opportunity for them to interact with other candidates and we get to see how they work as a team. There'll be an application that they actually have to, fill out and they'll turn that into the office. And then there'll be an interview that they'll have with one of the area coordinators as well as an RA. And we finished our process this year at the end of, at the beginning of March is when we finished our process, or middle of March is when we finished our process. So that's usually, it's a pretty simple process. It goes by pretty quickly. I would say, I think this year we had about 52, I believe, candidates that applied, and we had about 26 spots. So half of the people who applied got offered a position. So I would say it's definitely a really awesome opportunity. If you're interested in being an RA, it's a really great leadership opportunity. It's a really great way to meet students. It's a really great way to challenge yourself. So I'm really excited to hear that people are interested about how that process works.
Absolutely. And I think, like I said, that's the last question that I can think of off the top of my head that we get pretty regularly from students. Other than that, you covered a lot of the, process and procedural things and with the forms and deadlines. And obviously with, accepted students, this is important for them to make sure that they have things in by those dates so that they can get, everything as it comes out. And then obviously if anyone watching this has any questions, feel free to reach out to the Residence Life office for any of the, myriad of questions that you might encounter through the poll process, and they'd be more than happy to help. But otherwise, thank you so much.